We are here finally for the very first episode of Last Known Whereabouts. The idea behind Last Known Whereabouts was to sit and interview everyday people that I've come across in my life and to find out where it was that their last known whereabouts was insofar as where their spiritual connection came through. I am very, very blessed and honoured to be sitting here with my amazing friend, Mel. And Mel is my sister from another vista. How you doing, beautiful?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. How are you enjoying having a bit of country life over the beach life?
I actually think Bendigo is beautiful.
That's good.
I actually really love the city, the old sort of history behind the talking tram.
The talking tram. The history behind the talking tram. Because that was here first.
I didn't know there was one tram in Bendigo, but it talks. So apparently I'm going to go up to it and be like, hey, tram is going to go, hey.
We've decided he's Thomas's cousin.
Yeah.
So, in any case...
Called George.
Called George. Well, it is absolutely lovely to have you in my presence, and I sort of feel like I'm talking to the computer, but talking to your faces at the same time. But obviously, we've had these conversations one-on-one with ourselves, or each other, rather, and possibly ourselves. But I wanted to find out from you, where was your last known whereabouts? Where were you? How old were you when you had that very pivotal sort of awareness of that there was something more to you or something more to life? Mm-hmm. Was there something that happened, a big bang, so to speak, for you in your life?
Yeah, I was young. My last known whereabouts was when I was about 7. We'd moved into a 2-story house, and I'd already been seeing dark figures in my hallways and coming into my room as a little kid. But this pivotal moment was when I was sitting on our dining room table, and I remember I was playing with beads or something, and then I started feeling this like pulsing energy, and then I had a vision of these beings look over me, and I must have been the other version of me that was experiencing this, just lying flat, and I couldn't explain that feeling. And so from then on...
You were 7 though?
Yeah. So
were you scared?
Yeah, I could feel my heart chakra the fear center to go off, because I couldn't understand why I could see these beings, but I was looking at my beads. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right.
So like I could see up here, but I was physically in my reality looking at these beads, but I could feel this presence, what I was connected to, and I couldn't understand it. So I feel like as life's gone on, I've tried to unpack what that potentially, but I never shared it with anyone until I was older.
Right, so you actually just lived with this from a very young age.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to understand. I didn't know if everyone else had visions or saw. So sometimes I see things here, or I see them up here, or memories come from here, like the places of where the experiences come from. Yeah. That's all like a process of understanding.
Yeah, right.
Myself and my experience, and then trying to understand if everyone experiences it the same.
Well, as it turns out, I think that we have well and truly established that nobody experiences it exactly the same. Everybody gets their divine message in some way, shape or form, but it's not necessarily identical across the board or anything like that. Did you ever speak to anybody about it at the time?
No. I spoke to my dad about the dark image people that would come in the hallway and come into my room, but I wouldn't talk to him about like the strange visions that I would have or anything like that, because I felt that they were thought that I was a bit crazy.
So you thought at that age that they may think that you were crazy. It wasn't that there was a fear involved in sharing that?
No.
Or the fear was that they would deem you crazy?
Yeah, because I think back then it was very much you had dreams and they were all imaginatory, and your imagination was your imagination, but I wasn't asking for that intrusive vision. I wasn't imagining playing with my Barbies and Ken and Barbie chatting. It was like intrusively and a massive vibrational feeling that came over me. Yeah.
What did you think was happening at the time?
I don't think it was happening at the time. I have no idea. It's only what I know, what I think I know now. So I can't tell you.
So what? Okay. So with that in mind, excuse me, Ryder, can you please?
But it's pivotal because I do understand that we the memories that we have that we can access are actually connected to a giant emotion. Otherwise, you wouldn't wire them into your long-term memory, which I know was fear at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You did say before that you had said it to your dad. Was your dad the first person that you had that conversation with?
Yes.
Okay, and what was his response?
If
you can recall back then.
No, I can't really recall. All I know is that every
Did
time
he squash the idea or encourage the idea?
Didn't encourage or squash, just listened.
Right.
Yeah.
That's perfect, I suppose, in an ideal situation.
Yeah, because he hadn't experienced anything like that. Yeah. In fact, part of me wondered if because people don't talk about it, it's like maybe it's something you just don't talk about, but everyone experiences.
Perhaps. Yeah. And later in life, obviously, these have continued for you and become bigger across the board. So what is your take on what happened when you were a child? Now, do you believe that there was a message in it for you and this is why you are where you are now?
Yeah, a part of me, I don't know how far-fetched to go here.
Tell me your truth. Give me your absolute truth.
The truth is that all 12 strands of my DNA that we have are activated, and then I've been a crystalline being for a very long time, and I have direct line access to potentially other planetary systems, and I feel that part of the aspect of my soul is up there, and what I was actually experiencing was connection with that aspect at the time.
Beautiful. And we spoke earlier today about the vividness of the dreams that you have and things like that, and the amount of messages that come through to you. Do you think that they communicate, the universe, whatever, is communicating through dreams to you? Through what other avenues do you feel that
I get communicated with?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. 100% get communicated with dreams, communication through meditation, visions, patterns, the goosebumps that we get, which are the truth bumps.
I like that. Truth bumps, very good.
As I've explained at my show, which you've attended, the whole fractal antenna in the DNA, and actually the fact that we are antennas ourselves. We have one in our brain, the pineal gland, and we're constantly being communicated with. And now I understand that more and more and more. I'm just trying to decode what the communication means and what my truth is from that.
Yeah. And it's a bit to undo, especially because I think that ultimately we don't necessarily have a genuine understanding of what is what.
No.
We are living in a society now where obviously we've got a lot of wokeness, but we're talking about people who are truly awake and actually starting to really look at these things, because it's to us it's real. You know, some people may sit there and say, you know, you're just two loonies sitting in front of a which is amazing. We like being weird, so thank you for that. But you know, I think that we're sitting in this space now where these sorts of conversations are becoming less and less weird and more and more relevant in potentially healing the world in our own little way, or at least opening up those ideas that, you know, we're not necessarily just 3D humans having this 3D experience where we must, you know, buy a house and have the white picket fence and, you know, go to work 9 to 5 and do all of that. What do you believe is your sole purpose in these messages that have been given to you? Have you come to the conclusion that you know what your sole purpose might be?
Yes, I think it's ever evolving, but at the moment,
beautiful.
I definitely know. I feel like through my life, I've been picking up puzzle pieces, and you know, even the experience that I said to you is one puzzle piece that I needed to understand through science. And now I put on my shows and I release music, and all of those things are to help bridge the gap between science and spirituality for people, so that they can allow themselves access to what the divine, what spirituality could mean for them, and maybe find their own mission and purpose in their life. Because the 3D life that we live programs that out of us. And I want to reawaken outside the five senses.
Now, I do briefly want to touch on, you have said to me in the past that you have had, for want of a better term, alien encounters. where does that sit for you? Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe that there is something out there outside of our current belief system?
Hell yeah, there's aliens.
I already knew the answer to that.
There's aliens.
There's aliens. She's one.
I'm one. She's one. They're among us.
We're it.
We're in uniform. No. Hang on, let me just transform. I take off my suit.
That would be so epic.
And then
that's
if I could
actually
do
what
that,
happened right now. And we
then we just blow up on the internet.
Yeah.
Now they're like it's sci-fi, like, you know, green screen. You know.
Oh, they've done it by AI.
Yeah,
no, it's a $300 computer. I promise you, it didn't work like that.
No. Yeah.
This thing's held together by a little bit of sticky tape and glue.
Yeah, that's true.
So your alien experience, tell me, because I have not had one. I don't discount that is an absolute possibility. However, I'm a bit of a see it before I believe it kind of girl, rather than a believe it then I'll see it. So tell me just a small sort of piece of that you would like to share, perhaps.
Yeah, right. Which experience? The TV or the up in spaceship?
Oh,
yeah, because they're
that's
both
such
very
a tease.
different.
I feel like you know what? If we're going to go the whole hog, tell me about going up into a spaceship.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
wild.
So a lot of people would hear this story and think it was just a dream, but anyone who has had an experience like this would know that it's not like a dream. So I was in a dream, and I was on a motorbike. And then I heard a voice that was a bellowing voice. It wasn't my own. It said, "You are at one with the universe." And so then on the motorbike, I got thrown back. And then I was very aware in my body that I was lying down in my bed. And then I felt myself leave my body through my chest. And I could explain it like this. It was like, I felt like all this wind was brushing through my hair, even though it wasn't my hair, but I just felt like really fast energy. And all these strobe lights was going past me. Will preface, don't take drugs, wasn't on any drugs.
I
did not go mushroom tripping or DMT, nothing.
So a non-psychedelic experience. So this was just
went to bed at my house.
This was just this is a Mel inside her head situation.
Off my web. And and so when the strobe lights went really, really fast, and then I stopped at a ceiling effect. That's what it felt like, and I started seeing all these neon geometric patterns. And then at the same time, a language that I couldn't understand. And I knew that I just had to say in my head, I can't understand you, you're going to have to show me. And so then I just popped up in a spaceship. So I'm in a spaceship. And when I say I'm in a spaceship, the reality was as tangible as this.
Yes.
Like it was just, I was a little bit panicked at the time because I was like, I have no idea.
How old were you?
Happened. Oh, I was 32.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Only 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these green aliens with these big, like, horn ears, and I could see the spaceship. If I could draw it. There were some little ones around the corner on these weird devices. And anyway, they had no mouth. They just had black eyes. And they said to me, obviously telepathically, take off your helmet. And I'm like, I didn't even know I was wearing a helmet. So I take off this helmet, and I can only describe I could breathe, but the breathing is like, if you understand what noble gases are, helium, when you suck in helium, you will get a high-pitched voice.
Everybody knows what noble gases are, by the way, so yeah. Continue.
And then xenon is the densest noble gas. So when you breathe xenon in, it actually does the opposite. It's really hard to actually, your lungs have trouble getting it back out, and it will bring your voice down really low. So the reason why I explain that is I remember when I was breathing, it was hard to expel the breath.
Ah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anyway, and so then they said to me, take your helmet off. So I took my helmet off, and I could feel myself breathing, and again a little bit of panic was in, and they said to me, turn and look in the window. So I turned to this window that was black, by the way, which looked like a black mirror rather than just, I couldn't see through it. And I was expecting to turn around and see me in a spaceship, as in this version of me, but I actually looked in the mirror and I saw me as a green alien and the window, and that's when I was like, holy shit, because I felt like me, like as in I knew, and I knew
the essence of you was still present.
And I knew in that moment exactly what my teaching was, like what the lesson was in this experience going to the spaceship was that I'm not the meat suit. I'm the essence of what is inside or encompassing the space, this spacesuit that I'm in. I'm in a spacesuit right now.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so I turned back to them and I just said, I think I've seen enough. I think I've learnt my lesson. And they guided me over to a little portal, like it was a circle, and it said the last time you were here, you were 2. And it was in English from memory.
Yep.
And then I went through the portal, but this time I came down slower.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can explain to you is like I could hear a real like intense. So when I was trying to get back in my body, all I can explain to you is like this. The frequency was so high of where I was that I had to like start going to get myself back
humming to get yourself back in
my body.
Yeah, right.
And then when I landed in my body, this is the kicker. I heard the song "Follow Me, Everything Is Alright," and I came to in my bed. I knew I'd landed back in my body, and the song was actually playing on my Hey Google at like 3 a.m. in the morning in the kitchen.
Yeah, right.
So I had to go into the kitchen and turn the Hey Google off. So they had to.
They brought you back in.
So I couldn't deny that it wasn't. That it wasn't a really profound experience, and I was just like, this is insane. But
this is insane, and yet totally plausible.
Then I learned about DMT and what happens when you release DMT in the brain, and I just think I had an experience where my body was able to.
And DMT is naturally within our systems anyway, and it's actually released prevalently at the end of life. So it's quite interesting that the things that you speak of, obviously I have had experience with psychedelics, but I've also, I know a lot of people that have as well. And what you're experiencing, quite interestingly, and we have discussed this, is that your experience was completely sober, for want of a better term, is very reflective of what happens when there is a DMT spike within your system. So therefore, what we're talking about here is something that occurs naturally. Perhaps you have a little more of it than the average bear, or I don't know, maybe there is a communication in that sort of thing. And I think that perhaps that's something that people who do have spiritual enlightenment, maybe maybe we could measure that DMT level. Maybe those people have a higher level.
I think you'll find Joe Dispenza has done a lot of research into this, and it's about he can actually pinpoint in the experience when the benzodiazepine is going to be released and when potentially DMT will be released for a transcendental experience. The frequency of the brain goes from being like really slow sine waves as you're in your like almost a deep sleep, and then as soon as it kicks in, you become conscious in your subconscious brain like that. It's
conscious in your subconscious brain.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Like the brainwave frequency is as if they are awake, but they are asleep.
Now, I know your background, but why is it that you're able to speak so clearly about these things?
I did study behavioural neuroscience at university.
Wonderful. So not only has Mel experienced some of these situations for herself, just to sort of interject, but experienced these situations for herself, she's obviously spent a lot of time in that arena understanding it as well. And from that experience, Mel has had the opportunity to now present and do her own shows and healings, and she's a beautiful musician as well. Follow Hazel Ray on Spotify and Instagram and all that fun stuff. There'll be links and tags and all that jazz with this anyway, but obviously there's more to this little alien than just her sitting in a comfy blue jumper on my couch, which is beautiful.
So crazy.
But yeah, I just wanted to quickly say, obviously at the end, can you just give us a little bit of a spruik about what it is that you do in your shows? Because those people that are interested in perhaps hearing more about your story and who you are and how this came about, as somebody who's been to your shows, I know how deeply they resonate for me, even though we come from a slightly different spectrum on this, how deeply those messages resonate for me. So where would people be able to find you? When is your next show? What sort of things do you offer in that space for the peeps?
So you can find my music just on Spotify or any other streaming platforms. My shows are about bridging the gap between science and spirituality and making the information palatable for the average person who doesn't have a neuroscience degree, and really understanding what it is.
Which FYI is the average person.
Yeah, right. So I have 3 shows. The first one's called Asleep to Awake, and that's really an introductory to my story and why I've started to join the puzzle pieces. Starts to make everyone sort of understand a little bit more about the voices in their head that they hear and giving you a different spin on that. And really, it's not a truth. It's considering all, believe nothing is really the mantra behind the shows. The second one is Awake to Aware, where we discuss a little bit more about the messaging and understanding numbers like 369, Nikola Tesla, and his the works that he did. And then the last show, which is Aware to Ascension, is actually practicing a lot of what we've learned and seeing how we can access when we know we're in a, I suppose, in touch with the quantum field, and how we can manipulate, I suppose, getting access to the goals that we want in life and things like
Beautiful.
that. So, yeah, so basically the shows at the moment are just in Victoria. I'm hopefully putting one on in Bendigo soon. There should be one on in Ballarat, in Bright, and back in Torquay.
Can we find this information somewhere?
On my website.
On your website.
hazelray.com.au.
hazelray.com.au. There you go. So without further ado, I just want to obviously wrap this up and say thank you so much, not only for being my beautiful friend, but also coming and spending time with me and being part of this, because I know that throughout our lives since we have met, all we have done is find a rocket booster for each other, and we have pushed each other along. So your unwavering support is something that I absolutely admire and thank you so deeply for.
And next time we do this, we'll be wearing last known whereabouts t-shirts.
This will be in a studio and because we
wait
made
for
it.
Round number 2.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But if you are interested in following along or knowing more about Mel's journey, obviously jump on board and follow some Hazel Ray. And I really hope that you have got something from this. And if you would like to reach out, feel free. There is my Instagram page, so Soulworks @Soulworks_Bendigo, that you can go to. Alternatively, shoot me a message here, and we can sort of have a bit of a chat. And if there's something that we can do to guide you to perhaps one of Mel's shows or come along to one of the things that I host, then we will definitely do that. But thank you so much for all of you for being here. It's
Bye.
been beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
That was fun.